Hi everyone, welcome to our LinkedIn Live, and today I am absolutely delighted to welcome Vineet Tandon from HCLTech. And we first met Vineet probably about a year ago actually, where we started talking and listening and all sorts, and then you came to our community event, and you are the first musical presenter that we've ever had at our community event, the one that stood up and started singing, so thank you for that. But for those watching today, this is a pre-recording, so we've done this before, but please put your comments in because we are attending this live so we can answer your questions. So there are people behind the scenes still answering questions, even though this is pre-recorded. Now, I'm really excited because I very first spoke to Vineet around advocacy. And Vineet is actually the global leader in talent marketing for HCLTech. So a slightly different angle to advocacy when it sits in marketing. And today we're going to talk about a human-centric approach to advocacy and what HCLTech has been doing, because it's been quite incredible. So Vineet, do you want to give us a bit of an intro, who you are, how long you've been at HCLTech?
Sure. Hi, Sarah, and thank you for having me here today on this session. Hello, everyone from whichever part of the world you are joining in. Glad to virtually meet you and say hello to you. I have been with HCLTech roughly around for 9 years. This is my second stint, so these 9 years are cumulative if I add both my stints. Uh, I have been leading, different parts of, talent marketing and, initiatives which are driven around employer branding. So that's my core role, part of marketing organization, and very excited to be here on the conversation today with you, Sarah.
Fantastic. So I've got to be curious, and I've already gone off the questions, which is very normal for me. But what's your background, Vineet? Have you been in marketing, or have you always been in talent? Where's your career taken
I,
you?
I, I, I come from marketing. I have my 20 years of experience mostly comes from marketing, though I have worked on different sides of it. So whether, it's business marketing, it's brand marketing, it's corporate communications, events, analysts. So I would say entire 360-degree playbook. But over the last few years, my focus has been more around talent.
Yes. So with that, where did the inspiration for an employee advocacy program, but with a talent angle, come from? Where did you get the inspiration for a program at HCL Tech?
So, as a company, we underwent brand transformation in 2022, September. We have undergone a brand transformation. We had a new uh, purpose statement. We had a new logo, new identity for our brand. And, when the new identity was unveiled, it was our CMO's idea that, we should have a program wherein we bring all our employees, come and talk about our new narrative. So the idea was hers, blessings was hers. And of course, we have been working together and trying to make a success out of this employee advocacy program, which we call it as the Supercharge Ambassadors Club.
Yeah. And how many people have you got in the Supercharged Ambassadors Club now?
Given the size of the company, we are 200,000 plus employees. Our program is really small in that sense. We are roughly around 200 to 20 members in total. But we also wanted to go slow. Our numbers, we were not just chasing numbers that, hey, I want 5,000 people right away. We wanted to have personal touch and feel and connection with every ambassador so that we can create a difference in the program. So that's why we
Yeah.
have been slow from a pure numerical standpoint.
Do you know, though, I really loved that when you spoke at our event about that, because you said we weren't all about getting thousands of people active. We wanted the right people that were active. So can you tell me a little bit about how you find them? Did they raise their hand and say, I want in, or did you spot people and say, oh, do you want to join this program? How did you do that?
So, when we were launching this program, we obviously did our bit of research to understand, um, what will make this program tick or what will make this program a success. And in the initial phase, there were a mix of, approaches we took. We found out people who are really active on social media. That was one. That if you are really active, and therefore, advocacy would come very natural to you. So that was, the assumption we made. We also did a lot of invitation based reach out to people, that here is a letter coming from the leadership that you are invited to be part of this program. So there was an invitation led members who joined in. Then there were people who were active on social media, and then because we were launching, we also got some referrals. Some leaders said, oh no, you are doing this program, seems like a great stuff, why don't you have these people as well. So initial bag was a mix of people from across the organization, which was a mix of referrals, which was a mix of invitation based, and their own activity on social media. Yeah. So over the last 17 months, we had our own share of learnings on the program. So now when we go and, so now entry and exit into the program are well-defined processes. Earlier, it was only entry, and we didn't even know how to exit people who are no longer active. So we have also created a mechanism to find out that if you are no longer active, might as well give your seat to somebody else, right? What is the point of being an ambassador when you really are not one, right? So now we have a laid out criteria wherein the most important thing that we look for people is how really active they are on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Second is we also look for geographical representation, because we really want this program to be inclusive. While we are an India headquartered company and we have large number of people and employees based in India, we are also present in 60 other countries. So our ambassador program has representation from 25 countries. So even if you are not that active on LinkedIn, but you come from a country which is not part of my club, I'll be hoping to welcome you, because we want that representation.
Fantastic. No, that's really good, actually. And that's an interesting thing that you raised there about, it's all about bringing people in, but how do you exit people? So can you give us a bit of an insight into what that criteria is? You don't have to list it all, but
Right. So, it's a tough choice for us, because, people come with a lot of expectations that, oh, I'm part of this club. They will put it up on their LinkedIn. They will put up a nice banner, which we give as a part of their welcome and onboarding into this program. We give them a lot of cool merchandise as well. But at the end of it, we also are responsible for certain business goals. And we train our advocates on, how to use LinkedIn, how to write content, how to do create stories for social media. But if at the end of it you are just being a silent ambassador, probably this doesn't serve the purpose of the program. So you may be a great human being, a fantastic colleague to work with, but I'm sorry, I cannot have you in my program, because you are no longer active. So we have an activity period which we track through our social advocacy platform. And if people are not active for certain number of months, we send them reminders that, hey, you are missing out of action. Is there something we can do to help you out? But if there is no response, or people get busy elsewhere, which we really appreciate and respect, we tell them, sorry, we'll have to offer this seat to somebody else who is more active, more enthused about the brand, to talk about it.
got it. Yeah, I think that's a really smart way to do it, because this needs to be kind of, your top ambassadors needs to be kind of an exclusive community, and you invest in their growth, and you invest, so there's a bit of a commitment both ways. You mentioned goals. So I'm curious, how do you tie this back to business impact? How do you measure success?
Mhm. So typically, when you are defining any advocacy program, I think you have to look at three things. Now, these are not success metrics. I'll come to that a little later. But three important things that you should have in mind. One is executive sponsorship. If in our case, thankfully, our CMO Jill Kuri and my manager Meenakshi Benjwal, they have been extremely supportive of this program, right from the idea stage to the day-to-day affairs. We have been given a free hand to run the show, and that is absolutely important. So if you don't have executive sponsorship, you can't really go far. And Jill, who's based in Americas, whenever she visits India's or whenever she's in other parts of the world, we try and connect dots with the ambassadors and her, try to get a meeting arranged, so that ambassadors are not just about sharing content online, they also get in-person experience of meeting the leadership, learning from them that what this program is all about and what the company is up to. So I think that's fundamentally very, very important. Second important thing that we did was alignment on goals. Now when we launched this program, we had undergone a brand transformation, and we wanted our new narrative, new positioning to be known by all out on social media. So for us, that was a starting point. But we have moved on from there. Now there are business partnerships which are happening within the company. There are different teams reaching out to us. Hey, we are coming up with this campaign. Can we help? Can you help us amplify this with the ambassadors? So over the last 1 quarter, I would say we have seen roughly around 15 such new campaigns that have come to us. Instead of we saying, hey, we have ambassadors, can we do something for you? They are coming to us, which definitely talks about, the acceptance of the program. Third thing which we did fundamentally different was most of the advocacy program. And Sarah, I spoke to you when we hosted you as a part of your speaker series. One thing we did fundamentally different was value addition. Most of the advocacy programs become transactional exchange of content. Here is approved brand content. Go ahead and share it to the world. While that is fine, people will still do it. But I think we'll have to create a differentiation there. And that's where we brought value addition as a main part of our program. So what we have done is we have leadership series and we have expert influencer series, which run every month. And there are speakers from different parts of the world. You have spoken. We have Amy Bateman from London. Earlier this week, we had Dhananjay from Sri Lanka. We had Nicholas Krul from South Africa. We have Philip from Americas who came and spoke to our ambassadors. So we are inviting experts from all over the world to talk to these people. So that's a huge value. Second, we bring in leaders from HCLTech to come and share their vision of their business, their line of business, their products, and strategy. So earlier in November, we had Alan Flower, who is also based in London, sharing companies' views on artificial intelligence. He's the subject matter leader on that. So, and everybody's excited about AI. So that session was fantastically well received. So it is not just a manual exchange of content between us, it's value addition. And I don't know if I shared this with you earlier, Sarah. We have 8 uh, ambassadors who within last 8 to 10 months have become LinkedIn top voices.
Wow.
Yeah,
Amazing.
somewhere in September, we invited LinkedIn team and even they were shocked, like, how is this happening? I said, I'm not taking full credit of it. We are investing in people's growth and people have seen that difference coming into them.
Yeah. And I think, well, there's several things there that I've just sort of circled. How fantastic it is that your teams are now thinking of integrating employees as part of their campaign structures.
Absolutely.
I just think that's amazing, right?
Absolutely.
It's not just some project that's going off on the side that Vineet's taking care of. This is now becoming embedded into the way the business works, which is fantastic. Absolutely. But what you've done is you've built community spirit. You've built this community with expert topics, expert speakers, leaders talking about vision. You've really invested in this team, this community, to the point where they feel so strongly part of it, but they're feeling the benefit. And I think, to quote you, you've invested in their growth. And this, for me, is what advocacy is all about. It's not actually using employees as a channel for amplifying content. It's actually investing in your employee voices to become the authentic voice of the brand, which it sounds like what you have done with this, which is absolutely fantastic. And top voice recognition, you can't pay for that. You can't apply for that. You genuinely get recognized by LinkedIn because they look at your content and engagement. And
correct.
That's
so
fantastic.
So there were a couple of ambassadors on that session with LinkedIn team, and they asked how these people got it. They said, while we are from LinkedIn, there is no formula that I can give you for it.
No.
It's decided by an independent committee based on algorithms, recommendations, and a lot of other factors.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Well, congratulations. I think that's a fantastic endorsement of your program and must feel great for your employees.
Absolutely.
You mentioned AI, so you've recently had an AI speaker. Now, when we met last year, you mentioned that you were thinking of bringing AI into your advocacy program. So, can you tell me a little bit more about that, and what you've been doing? And is it just training employees on AI, or have you started to weave it in other places?
Right. So broadly, if I were to classify this, there are three main elements of our advocacy program. One is mostly around strategy and program goals. That is 100% human. And at this point, or even in like 5 years down the line, if somebody can come and tell me that AI will automate 100% employee advocacy, I don't know if that's true going to be true. So, strategy, program, alignment, and goals is 100% human. It is all of us, we as part of marketing, with our leadership, we sit, we review what should be the goals that we want to arrive at and want to chase. So that's 100% human. Then lot of community building, doing these sessions, talking to people. That is also lot of human touch. And in the beginning, as I mentioned, we have not consciously or intentionally scaled our program to few thousands, because I know there is me and one of my team members who are mostly responsible for running this. And given our limited capacities of time, we can only address and reach out to so many people. So human touch again is all human led. Yes, there are aspects of program management wherein AI has started to come in handy. So when we are asking people to create content, there are tools like Copilot, which are available organization wide for all of us to access and use, and how to use those smartly. So, content creation is definitely an area where AI has already started helping people. Now, while the AI can't do creatives which are brand approved, so we help our advocates with brand approved messages and creatives. But then they can also use AI to rewrite it or write it with full grammar correct copy. They could use tools like Grammarly. They could use tools like even Chat GPT for that example. To that extent, yes, there is an AI involvement. We also use a third party advocacy tool called Octopost as a part of our advocacy platform. They have a feature of AI wherein if you publish a piece of content, AI can give you variants of that content, so that when different advocates are publishing it, it doesn't look like the same copy being published by everybody else. So I would say from a pure play percentage perspective, it is mostly in the program execution where currently AI is playing a role, and that is somewhere around 30 to 40% max.
Got it. Yeah. I think, yeah, I've seen that actually in a lot of the advocacy tools where it uses AI to auto generate. So then it doesn't look so similar, everything
Yes,
getting published. So it's a smart use.
that's correct.
So I've got to say, because we can't take questions live, but we are in the background. So if anybody does have questions, you can pop them in. But I'd love you to share a success story of where you've seen maybe advocacy directly or indirectly impact talent recruitment. Or have you got any stories where you think you can see that actually this work around talent marketing through an employee advocacy program has impacted maybe the employee value proposition or recruitment metrics? Have you got anything like that?
So, since the time since we have launched, which is now we are, as I said, we are in the 17th month, uh, metrics as well as what we want to measure has also evolved. So, something that we really want to measure is what is the percentage of my active ambassadors. So, if let's say I have 200 ambassadors right now, are 80% dead,
Yeah,
or are 80% really active? I think that is something that we are very intentionally focusing on. If we can get that percentage right, and again it will vary because human beings will have their own interests. Suddenly they are active, someday they are not active. And so people also become smart. They understand that, okay, I have to log into the advocacy tool, I'll do it once in a week and push all the posts in one day. So we'll have to understand those nuances of people, how they react and operate. But for us, one active measurement is what is my percentage of active ambassadors that is we are focusing on. Coming to what are the outcomes and metrics that we are measuring, these are like typically what any marketer would do: impressions, clicks, total reach by ambassadors. I think The last count that I was looking at is since the time our advocacy tool went live, we are currently at around 22 million from an organic reach perspective.
Wow.
Uh, which is good. If I compare this from a dollar value, if I were to get these number of impressions by buying them on LinkedIn through a paid campaign, that would translate into a fantastic dollar value, which at least has been a saving for us.
Yes.
So that's another, vanity metrics, if I were to call it as. So far, we have not used the program for lead generation campaigns because of main reason is that the audiences that we have are very diverse. They are people from HR, they are people from software engineering background, not really sales and marketing professionals. So unless you are from that community, your chances of influencing a multi-million dollar deal through advocacy is very rare because of the mix of the audiences that we have. But yes, we have seen a recent case study wherein we did this program, an extension of this program with a community of recruiters, and we called it as Recruiter Influencer Network. That worked fantastically well. So what we did was, while recruiters would traditionally go and talk about we are hiring kind of post every day on their network, we turned them around into storytellers. We aggregated them into a small project, said this is a project, we are doing it for 3 months, and you won't believe that we have only done 11 stories with them in a spread of 3 months, and the organic reach of this has been more than 2.5 million.
Wow.
And if I were to also tell you the leads, because while our main objective was not lead generation in this particular case as well, we got close to around 15,000 website visits and close to around 1,250 applications for the roles that were advertised within this
Oh,
ambit of.
fantastic. Yeah. So and what you're looking at there is conversion rates, right? You're looking at traffic driven to websites, very marketing driven metric, but it's just the career website,
That's right.
different to the normal website. But actually, how many of those turned into applicants? And it'd be really fascinating to see how many of those turned into interviews. What was the candidate to interview ratio compared to other sources of candidates that applied?
So that is still
Absolutely.
WIP because we completed this only at end of November. So that is still WIP. But the fact is, there were two things which were very different. One, we aggregated a community of recruiters, which is like 70 recruiters spread over the country. We latched on to their power of collective network. These 15, this 60 plus recruiters have a reach of 15, 150,000 connections as first degree connections on their LinkedIn.
Wow.
So by orchestrating them together and running this as a project, we learned that that's the power of teamwork if we all work in tandem.
Yeah, but also that you turn them into storytellers, not job posting advertisers. That's
Yeah.
what I love. So you're putting the culture front and center, which
Yes.
is what the candidate is looking for. They're not necessarily, yes, they would love a role, but actually what sells it first is I want to work there. I want to be part of that story. I can see myself in that story that's been shared.
So
Which is fantastic, Vineet. So, just to sum it all up, then, I'd love to learn what you see as the future trends for employee advocacy, because that's a great experiment that you've done there around recruiting. So, where do you see this going? Where's the future?
So I'm not a very big fan of trends and forecasts, though I fully respect those reports and I do read them, just to keep myself updated. But I think I'll pose an alternative question to you. Have you seen a corporate post that has gone viral?
Not very often. Well, maybe for the wrong reasons, Vineet. It's gone not for the right reasons.
Right, right. That's exactly the reason, why we need employee advocacy. Because corporate post will go through its own. I understand that's a separate space altogether, but it's and I think I saw this in the conference in London that people are more interesting than logos. And from a future perspective, if I can tell you one thing, we are going to see employee advocacy become a part of marketers' media plan in the future. There is no way you consider this as a side project sitting somewhere, it's going to become mainstream. And the reason for this is essentially twofold. One, we are living in a huge trust deficit world. People know that companies are faking it. There are all kinds of lies. Nations are faking it, leaders are faking it. And therefore, the authentic voice that can come from employee advocates is going to only grow strong. So we are in a hugely trust deficit world, and therefore a strong reason for employee advocacy. Second, we are also living in a hugely attention deficit world. People can't even stand 8 seconds of attention, forget about anything else. Now, corporate post has its own space, it has its own set of followers. But when our shared connection does that same post, the value that it brings is beyond likes and impressions. There is a degree of trust that get exchanged when my friend shares it. And that is what makes employee advocacy much more stronger than than the recognition so far it has got.
Every time I speak to you, Vineet, I learn something new, and I think it's absolutely you've nailed it. Trust deficient, attention deficient, and in a world like that, who has more strength of voice in the market? It's not your logo, it's your people. So I think absolutely fantastic. So I'd like to thank you so much, Vineet, for taking the time. I do love catching up with you and chatting, because you always bring something new and fresh and alternative perspectives. So I really appreciate your time. And for anyone watching, we're going to be doing all of these sessions throughout 2025. So stay tuned, because we will be doing lots more of these throughout the year with lots of other professionals like Vineet to share their practical experience and expertise. So thank you for joining, Vineet. And
Thank you,
yeah,
Sarah. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you, everyone. I wish you all have a great ride with employee advocacy.
see you again.